This bike is absolutely filthy. Like, oh my god. My arms are dirty and all I've done is undo a few bolts. Shoot, it's way too loose. Can't keep anything clean with a filthy bike. Oh my gosh, Angel. Oh my gosh. Where did I put that thing? Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well today. So I need to adjust the primary belt on my Shovelhead and I figured I may as well make a video of that. And I do have to put my bike up on a lift, but I did just want to show you guys how I get my bike up on a jack lift because it is pretty low, so I can't actually just fit a jack lift underneath of it. So I have a little trick and I just wanted to share it with you guys. If your bike is really low and you have trouble getting it on a lift, this might be handy information for you. So this is the type of lift I'm going to be using. It's just a rolling jack lift and it's a typical motorcycle lift. And then a couple other things that I use is I use this tree falling wedge and I actually use that as a ramp. And then I'm going to use a 2x4 and a 1x4 or 1x6, whatever, something an inch thick. And then I just put my 1x4 kind of behind it a little bit like that. So my wedge I'm going to put right back behind it, centered, making sure that when the bike is standing up, it's centered. And then I'll put my 2x4 like that, and then that kind of just acts like a ramp, and my bike will just roll up onto the 2x4. It's a little bit sketchy, so you might want to get a friend to help you with this, but I'm going to try to do it myself this time. Hopefully be able to just roll everything straight back. Easily get up on. Gotta not be afraid. It is a little sketchy, but you can do it. There we go. Oh, I think I just broke my 1x4. Anyway, once you got it up, kickstand will hold it there. Wiggling the lift under is a little tricky because I gotta stand the bike up to clear the other side. And that is a little tricky on my own. Push this under. There we go. Whoa, always a scary moment when it actually starts to lift. And that's how I get my low bike on a lift. Now we can adjust the belt. All right, I was able to open up my garage door because the sun finally went behind the hill and now it's suddenly getting cold again. Welcome to Canada. Anyway, I'm ready to do my adjustment now. I've got everything loosened off that needs to be loosened. And before I do it, I just wanted to show you guys where my belt is sitting at the moment. So when you check your adjustment on your belt, you're going to want to do it in the center of the belt and you want to check it on the top rail of the belt. I've actually got a little short piece of a ruler here clamped on with a C-clamp so that I don't have to try to hold anything and keep it from moving while I check. So this just makes it super easy to check your adjustment if you're able to do this kind of a setup. So you're going to want to push and take up the slack in your belt. You're going to want to push it down and then you're going to want to push it back up, doing the same, just kind of taking up the slack. So pushing it up all the way at the 1/2 inch mark there. And then if I go down, I've got about a 1/16 of an inch over an inch. Some of these belt drive setups take 3/4 of an inch to an inch. Some of them take a 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch. And my belt drive is meant to be set anywhere from a 1/2 inch to a 5/8 of play cold. So I'm gonna go with 5/8 of an inch and that's where I'm gonna set it. And I'm actually super lucky because I have an adjustable transmission plate on my bike, so it's super easy to do this adjustment. I've just got 2 screws on the back of my tranny plate. I just have to loosen the nuts that hold my transmission onto the tranny plate. I do have to take my battery out because it sits right behind the transmission, and then I've got a few bolts I've got to undo from what I call my backing plate, or the piece that would replace my inner primary. And then I can just turn those screws in a little bit on the back of my transmission plate and those will actually adjust my belt. It's super easy. So this is my transmission plate here. I'm not sure if you guys can see those Sharpie marks, but I just put 4 Sharpie marks on each fastener and on the tranny plate. And that's just so that I know how far I'm actually going. So I'm just gonna go a quarter turn with each of these to start and see where that gets me on my belt. And I'm sorry if my hand's in the way. So I'm gonna go just a quarter turn and then just a quarter turn on this one. Right, so I've got mine set to where I'd like it to be, and it's about 5/8 of an inch. So pushing that down, taking up the slack, and going all the way back up, and we've got just over 5/8 of an inch. So I'm happy with where that's at, and I'm just gonna tighten everything up. All right, so I've got 3 bolts here in my backing plate on my primary setup that I need to tighten up first. And this is a custom setup, so you're probably not gonna have this same thing going on for yourself. So I'm gonna do those up first. With my drivetrain setup, I do have to adjust my chain tension after all this now. Since I pulled my transmission back, my chain is gonna be a little loose. I've actually got a little bit of a custom setup for my axle adjusters also, so I'll show you guys that if you wanna stick around. So depending on what you're riding, this adjustment's gonna be a little bit different for you. But from what I can tell, pretty much all the Shovelheads, they require about a 1/2 inch of free play in your chain. But in the later Shovelheads, it says to load the bike with whatever the normal riding weight would be with 1 or 2 passengers and adjust the chain there. And you always want to adjust your chain in the tightest spot also. So my bike, I'm going to actually adjust in the air because my suspension doesn't move really at all. It's almost like I'm riding a hardtail on this thing because my suspension really doesn't move. And there's a little bit of science involved in why you want to have the weight on depending on what your bike is. And these 3 points, your axle, your swing arm, and your main shaft, those kind of all play a part in it. My axle, swing arm, and my main shaft are all in alignment with each other, so my chain doesn't tighten if I have the weight on the bike, and I'm not actually heavy enough to push my suspension down at all when I sit on the bike. So I've got dual adjusters on my bike, which makes it super easy. So these outer adjusters are something that we added on, and they actually push the axle forward, and then the stock adjusters pull it back, and it's actually super handy if you got like a high torque motorcycle or something like that. Even if you don't, it just keeps your axle nice and snug and prevents stuff from moving around on you. As you can see, it's pretty sloppy. It's actually got a ton of movement in it right now just from pulling my transmission back. So I definitely want to tighten that up because you don't want to lose sloppy chain because then you're going to be wrecking stuff. Okay, so first thing I got to do is back off these pushing adjusters here, which means undoing my lock nut. But depending on what you've got for a bike, you're gonna have to undo some different stuff, so you might have to undo your brake and whatnot. And as Pacific Mike would say, check your manual. Just check your manual if you don't really know, but I'm just showing you guys how my adjusters work. And this might be a setup you guys wanna use one day. I can undo my axle, and I'm just gonna undo it just so that it's not tight, but not super loose. That should be pretty good there. I don't want it sloppy loose. It's good practice just to start your adjustment on your chain side. I'm gonna turn this in a 1/2 turn. I'm gonna do the same amount on the other side. And you wanna go equal amounts because you wanna keep your whole alignment still aligned. And that's still quite a bit of play there. Another quarter turn on each. And that's just under an inch. So I'm gonna call that good. And I'm just gonna leave it there because it's probably gonna tighten up a bit when I do up my axle. So I'm gonna do up my axle now, and it is 50 foot-pounds. There we go. All right, now I can just do everything back up. Make sure my chain is still good. These pushing adjusters, you do not need to do them up super tight. You just want to do them up just snug against the axle nut, and then you lock them down with this lock nut here. So you don't have to do these up super tight, and you don't want to because you don't want to wreck your swing arm. I'm good to take this thing off the lift. That's it for this job, guys. I hope that you guys found this video helpful or at least entertaining. And if this gave you any ideas for things you might want to try on your own custom motorcycle, then let me know in the comments. And like always, my lovely YouTube people, if you like what you see, or if you dislike me, or even if you don't like me but you like my bike, then like, comment, subscribe, do all those things you guys do. And like always, my lovely YouTube people, I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Peace. Okay, why are you not moving? Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Start that over. Ugh. The sun blazing down on me. I wish I didn't sound so fake when I talked.